Tupac Shakur wasn't killed by a random drive-by shooting. He was executed at a Las Vegas intersection by gunmen in a white Cadillac that 13 witnesses saw, but police never found. On September 7, 1996, at 11:15 p.m., Tupac was shot 4 times while stopped at a red light on Flamingo Road, and witnesses reported a white Cadillac pulled alongside Suge Knight's BMW, fired 13 rounds, then drove away while dozens of people watched. But when Las Vegas police investigated, the Cadillac had vanished. Witness statements began changing, and security camera footage from the intersection mysteriously malfunctioned, leaving detectives with an unsolved murder and a suspect vehicle that disappeared as if it never existed. This video reveals what 13 witnesses originally told police about the white Cadillac and its occupants, why those same witnesses later changed their statements or refused to cooperate, how the primary suspect was questioned and released within hours despite matching descriptions, why Suge Knight refused to identify the shooters even though he was sitting inches from Tupac when bullets flew, and what happened to the white Cadillac that was found burned in Arizona 2 days after the shooting, but never connected to the murder investigation. The Las Vegas homicide detectives stared at the intersection. Flamingo Road and Koval Lane, 11:47 p.m., September 7, 32 minutes since the shooting. Blood still wet on the asphalt where Suge Knight's BMW had sat at the red light. 13 shell casings recovered. 9mm, scattered across 2 lanes. The detective walked to where witnesses said the shooter's car had been. White Cadillac, pulled alongside the BMW. Someone in the back seat opened fire. Then gone. He looked down the road, east toward the Strip, west toward residential areas, north toward downtown, south toward the highway. A white Cadillac with bullet damage and possibly blood evidence had driven away from the busiest intersection in Las Vegas on a Saturday night. Dozens of people watched it happen. How does a murder vehicle disappear in a city with cameras on every corner and witnesses everywhere? His partner approached with a witness statement. Got a partial plate, Nevada registration, white Cadillac, older model, damage to the rear quarter panel. How many witnesses confirmed the Cadillac? 13 so far. Descriptions match. All saw it pull alongside, saw the shooting, saw it drive away. The detective made notes. 13 witnesses. Partial plate. Specific vehicle description. Damage pattern. This should be simple. Run the registration. Find the car. Match ballistics. Close the case. He didn't know yet that within 2 weeks, half those witnesses would recant. The rest would refuse follow-up interviews. The Cadillac would be found burned in Arizona, and the case would go cold despite having more witnesses than most solved murders. Something about this shooting wasn't random. The precision, the escape, the way evidence disappeared. This wasn't a drive-by, this was an execution disguised as one. And someone was making sure it stayed unsolved. September 7, 1996, 11:15 p.m., Las Vegas. Tupac Shakur sat in the passenger seat of a black BMW 750 sedan. Suge Knight, CEO of Death Row Records, drove. They were heading to Club 662, a venue Knight owned, for an after-party following the Mike Tyson fight at MGM Grand. The BMW stopped at a red light. Flamingo Road and Koval Lane, cars on all sides. Saturday night traffic heavy on the Strip. A white Cadillac pulled up on the passenger side, directly next to Tupac's window. What happened next took less than 15 seconds. Someone in the Cadillac's rear seat opened fire. 13 rounds, 9mm Glock, fired through the Cadillac's passenger window into the BMW. 4 bullets hit Tupac. Right lung, right hand, both legs. 1 bullet fragmented inside his chest, destroying tissue. Suge Knight took shrapnel to his head from a bullet fragment that grazed his skull. The light turned green. The Cadillac drove away, east on Flamingo, disappeared into traffic. Knight drove the BMW bullet holes in the passenger side, blood everywhere toward the hospital. Made it a mile before police stopped him. Paramedics arrived. Tupac was conscious but struggling to breathe. He was rushed to University Medical Center. Doctors performed emergency surgery, removed his right lung, transfusions, intensive care. For 6 days, Tupac fought. Then on September 13, 1996, at 4:03 p.m. he died from respiratory failure and cardiac arrest caused by the gunshot wounds. The murder of Tupac Shakur, one of the most famous rappers in the world, happened at a busy intersection with dozens of witnesses, clear vehicle description, and physical evidence. It should have been solved within days. It wasn't. Within hours of the shooting, Las Vegas police had 13 witness statements describing the same vehicle. White Cadillac, 4-door sedan, older model, possibly late 19. Nevada plates, damage visible on the rear quarter panel near the wheel well. The witnesses weren't together, didn't coordinate stories. They were in different cars, different positions at the intersection, different angles of view. But they all saw the same thing: a white Cadillac pulled alongside Suge Knight's BMW. Someone inside fired multiple shots. The Cadillac drove away immediately after. Several witnesses got partial plate numbers. One reported 4HG. Another saw H89. A third noted the first three letters matched common Nevada registration patterns. One witness, a tourist from California, took photos of the scene minutes after the shooting. His camera captured the intersection, surrounding vehicles, shell casings. He gave the film to police that night, assuming it would be critical evidence. That film was never entered into evidence. When the witness followed up weeks later, police told him they had no record of receiving it. The photos were gone. Another witness, a Las Vegas taxi driver, was stopped at the light directly behind Suge Knight's BMW. He saw the entire shooting, watched the white Cadillac pull up, saw the gun come out the back window, heard the shots, watched the Cadillac drive away. He gave a detailed statement to police, described the Cadillac's damage, estimated the shooter's position, provided timeline details. 2 weeks later, detectives called him back for follow-up questions. His statement had changed. "I'm not sure it was a Cadillac anymore. Maybe a different white car. I didn't see the shooting clearly. Too much chaos." What changed his mind? He later told a journalist, off the record, "Someone visited me, told me it wasn't healthy to remember too much. I have a family." He never testified. His original statement was noted as witness recanted. Of the 13 original witnesses, only 3 maintained consistent statements through the investigation. 4 recanted entirely, claimed they didn't see the shooting or weren't sure about vehicle details. 3 refused further cooperation, stopped returning detective calls, moved out of state, or hired lawyers who advised them not to testify. 2 gave statements, but later couldn't be located for follow-up interviews. Phone numbers disconnected, addresses empty. 1 died in an unrelated incident 6 months after the shooting. Car accident, ruled not suspicious. By the time the case went cold, investigators had no witnesses willing to testify about the white Cadillac with consistent, detailed statements. The strongest evidence, 13 people describing the same vehicle, had evaporated through recantations, disappearances, and selective memory loss. This doesn't happen naturally in homicide investigations. Witnesses don't spontaneously forget details about murders they watched happen. Someone was managing the witness pool, making sure stories changed, making sure cooperation ended. Within 24 hours of the shooting, Las Vegas police identified a suspect, Orlando Anderson. Anderson was a Crips gang member from Compton, California. Hours before Tupac was shot, Anderson had been involved in a physical altercation with Tupac and death row associates at the MGM Grand Hotel. Security footage showed Tupac, Suge Knight, and several others confronting Anderson in the casino lobby. Punches thrown, Anderson on the ground, security breaking it up. The altercation was over quickly. Anderson left the casino. Tupac and Knight left for the Tyson fight after party. 3 hours later, Tupac was shot. The timeline made Anderson an obvious suspect. Motive: retaliation for the MGM Grand beating. Opportunity: present in Las Vegas. Means: access to weapons and associates. Police brought Anderson in for questioning on September 8, 1 day after the shooting. The interrogation lasted several hours. Anderson denied involvement, claimed he left Las Vegas immediately after the MGM Grand incident, said he was nowhere near Flamingo Road when the shooting happened. Detectives pressed him. Witnesses had described occupants of the white Cadillac matching Anderson and known associates. The altercation at MGM provided clear motive. Anderson maintained his alibi. No lawyer present. He waived his rights and talked freely, confident in his denials. Police released him. No charges. No arrest. Insufficient evidence to hold him beyond the initial questioning. Why? With 13 witnesses describing the vehicle, a suspect with clear motive, and a fresh crime scene, why release the primary suspect within 24 hours? The official explanation: witnesses weren't providing consistent identification of occupants. The Cadillac hadn't been located. No physical evidence tied Anderson to the scene. But the real reason may have been more complicated. Gang dynamics, concerns about retaliation, political pressure to avoid escalating East Coast-West Coast tensions, or something else entirely that investigators never disclosed. Anderson was never charged with Tupac's murder, never arrested, never faced trial. He returned to Compton, lived there for 2 years, got involved in another gang-related dispute, On May 29, 1998, less than 2 years after Tupac's death, Orlando Anderson was shot and killed in a shootout at a car wash in Compton. Gang violence, multiple shooters, ruled a separate incident unrelated to Tupac. Anderson died without ever being formally connected to the September 7 shooting. The primary suspect, questioned and released, dead before the case could be solved. Some investigators believed Anderson was the shooter. Others thought he was involved but not the triggerman. A few suspected he was a convenient suspect whose involvement distracted from other possibilities. What everyone agreed on, Anderson knew something. Whether he pulled the trigger or just knew who did, he had information about the white Cadillac and what happened that night. He took that information to his grave, and Las Vegas police never built a case strong enough to charge him before he died. Suge Knight was sitting in the driver's seat when Tupac was shot. Inches away from the gunfire, he saw the white Cadillac pull alongside, saw the shooter, heard the shots, felt the bullet fragment graze his head. He was the closest witness, had the clearest view of the Cadillac and its occupants. Las Vegas police interviewed Knight at the hospital the night of the shooting, asked him to describe what he saw. Who was in the Cadillac? Any details about the shooter? Knight's response, I didn't see anything. Police pressed, you were sitting right there. The car pulled up next to you. You're telling us you didn't see who shot Tupac. I didn't see nothing. I was focused on driving. Knight maintained this position throughout the investigation, refused to identify the shooters, refused to describe the vehicle beyond confirming it was white, refused to cooperate with detectives trying to solve the murder of his friend and business partner. Why? The street explanation, snitches get stitches. Gang code. You don't talk to police. You handle problems yourself through street justice, not the legal system. Knight was deeply connected to gang culture through death row records, blood gang affiliations, street credibility built on not cooperating with law enforcement. Talking to police would have violated those codes, made him a target for retaliation, destroyed his reputation in circles where death row operated. But Knight wasn't a low-level gang member. He was a wealthy CEO with resources, legal options, and the ability to pursue justice through channels that didn't require direct police cooperation. So why stay completely silent? Why not provide anonymous information? Why not let investigators know privately what he saw while maintaining public silence? Some investigators believe Knight knew exactly who shot Tupac, but feared the consequences of identifying them. Either because the shooters were connected to powerful people Knight couldn't afford to cross, or because identifying them would expose death row's own involvement in conflicts that led to the shooting. Another theory, Knight believed speaking to police would spark retaliation, not just against him, but against death row artists, employees, and associates. Entire networks of people would become targets if he broke the silence. Or perhaps Knight planned his own retaliation, intended to handle the situation through street justice rather than courts. Cooperation with police would interfere with whatever actions he was planning or already executing. Whatever his reasons, Knight's refusal to cooperate crippled the investigation. The person with the most information about the white Cadillac in the shooting gave detectives nothing. And without his cooperation, the case had no chance of moving forward, even if police found the vehicle and identified suspects. Flamingo Road and Koval Lane is one of the busiest intersections in Las Vegas. Hotels, casinos, heavy traffic, constant surveillance. In 1996, security cameras covered most major intersections near the Strip, not for public safety, for casino security, watching for crimes that might affect business. The intersection where Tupac was shot should have been covered by multiple cameras. MGM Grand was 1 block away. Other casinos within view. Traffic cameras at major crossings. Las Vegas police requested footage from surrounding businesses and traffic systems. Standard procedure in murder investigations. Collect all available video evidence. What they found, nothing usable. Several casinos reported their cameras malfunctioned that night. Technical issues. Recording failures. The specific time window around 11:15 p.m. blank. Traffic cameras at the intersection showed the same problem. Missing footage. Gaps in recording. The moments before, during, and after the shooting, not captured. One casino security manager told detectives, the camera that would have seen the shooting was down for maintenance that evening. Coincidence? Another reported, our footage from that angle got corrupted. We can't recover it. A third simply stated, we have no footage from that time period. System error. Not one camera from multiple angles at one of the most surveilled intersections in Las Vegas captured usable footage of a white Cadillac shooting at a BMW during Saturday night traffic. This level of comprehensive camera failure strains credibility. One camera malfunctioning? Possible. Two? Unlikely. Multiple cameras from different systems all failing during the same 15-minute window? Suggests coordination. One detective later said off the record, either we had the worst technical luck in Las Vegas history, or someone made sure there wouldn't be video evidence. I know which one I believe. No footage meant no visual confirmation of the white Cadillac. No license plate captured. No clear images of occupants. No verification of witness statements. The investigation lost its strongest potential evidence before it could be examined. And that loss, cameras failing at the exact intersection, exact time, exact angle needed to solve the murder, became one more impossibility in a case full of them. 2 days after Tupac was shot, a white Cadillac was found abandoned in a rural area outside Phoenix, Arizona. Local police discovered it burned. Fire had consumed the interior. Paint scorched, no plates, VIN partially destroyed. The car matched the general description witnesses gave. White Cadillac, older model, 4-door. Damage visible on the rear quarter panel even through the fire damage. Phoenix police ran the partial VIN, registered to a Las Vegas resident. They contacted Las Vegas PD about a possible connection to the Tupac Shakur shooting. Las Vegas detectives reviewed the report, noted the similarities, requested forensic analysis of the burned vehicle. Then something strange happened. The car was classified as unrelated to the investigation. No forensic team sent. No detailed analysis of the interior for blood, gunpowder, or bullet residue. No attempt to recover evidence before the burned vehicle was scrapped. The official explanation: vehicle did not match specific details provided by witnesses. Fire damage made forensic analysis impractical. Determined to be unrelated. But the car did match. White Cadillac, damage pattern consistent with descriptions, found abandoned shortly after the shooting, burned to destroy evidence. Why wasn't it thoroughly investigated? One theory: bureaucratic failure, jurisdictional issues between Phoenix and Las Vegas, communication breakdowns, resource limitations preventing full forensic work on a burned car that might have been unrelated. Another theory: the car was investigated privately and something was found that complicated the case, evidence pointing to people investigators couldn't or wouldn't pursue. A third possibility: someone intervened to ensure the Cadillac wasn't connected to the shooting. Whether through official channels or unofficial pressure, the investigation into the burned vehicle was closed before it could yield answers. Whatever the reason, the one white Cadillac that could have been the murder vehicle was destroyed and dismissed without the forensic attention such evidence typically receives. And with it went any physical proof connecting the shooting to a specific car and potentially to specific suspects. 28 years after Tupac Shakur was shot at a Las Vegas intersection, his murder remains unsolved. No arrests, no charges, no trial, no justice. This despite 13 witnesses who initially identified the vehicle, partial license plates, clear vehicle description, a primary suspect questioned within 24 hours, motive established through the MGM Grand altercation, physical evidence at the scene. By every measure, this should have been a solvable case. Yet it collapsed through a series of failures and coincidences that seem less like bad luck and more like coordinated obstruction. Witnesses recanted or disappeared. The primary suspect was released and later killed. Suji Knight refused to cooperate. Security cameras malfunctioned. The one white Cadillac matching descriptions was found burned and dismissed as unrelated. Each individual failure could be explained. Together they create a pattern suggesting someone ensured this case would never be solved. But who and why? Some investigators believe gang dynamics made solving the case impossible. Street code prevented cooperation. Witnesses feared retaliation. The murder was part of larger conflicts police couldn't penetrate. Others suspect the investigation was deliberately sabotaged, either by individuals within law enforcement connected to parties involved, or by outside pressure to keep the case unsolved for reasons never disclosed. A third theory: solving the case would have exposed uncomfortable connections between entertainment industry figures, gang networks, and possibly law enforcement informants that created complications beyond a simple murder prosecution. In 2023, Las Vegas police announced renewed investigation into Tupac's murder, following new leads and advances in forensic technology. In July 2023, they executed a search warrant at a home in Henderson, Nevada, connected to a person of interest in the case. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, Orlando Anderson's uncle, was arrested and charged with murder in connection with the shooting. Davis had made public statements over the years claiming he was in the white Cadillac that night and knew who pulled the trigger. After 27 years, someone was finally charged. The case officially active again. But questions remain. Why did it take nearly 3 decades? What changed that made the case prosecutable now when it wasn't in 1996? What evidence was always there but not pursued? And most critically, was the delay due to investigative challenges, or was something preventing this case from moving forward until everyone involved was too old, too removed, or too dead to complicate prosecutions with broader revelations? The white Cadillac still holds answers. Somewhere in those 28 years of silence is the truth about what happened and why it took so long to acknowledge. Flamingo Road and Covell Lane, present day. The intersection looks different now. New hotels, updated traffic lights, more cameras everywhere. But the street layout is the same. The position where Suge Knight's BMW stopped at the red light, where the white Cadillac pulled alongside, where 13 rounds were fired and Tupac Shakur was shot 4 times. Tourists drive through daily. Most don't know what happened there. No marker, no memorial, just an intersection where traffic flows 24 hours a day. But sometimes, late at night when traffic is light, witnesses claim they see a white Cadillac pull up to the light, just sitting there, idling. Then when the light changes, gone. A ghost car driving an endless loop through the intersection where everything changed. September 7, 1996. 13 witnesses saw a white Cadillac. Partial plates documented, vehicle description detailed, damage pattern noted. Las Vegas police ran investigations, found nothing usable. Security cameras malfunctioned. Witnesses recanted. The primary suspect was released. A burned Cadillac found in Arizona, dismissed as unrelated. Suge Knight saw everything, told police nothing. 28 years later, the murder remains unsolved, until a 2023 arrest that raises more questions than it answers. The white Cadillac drove away from that intersection carrying answers about who killed Tupac Shakur and why. It vanished into Las Vegas traffic. No one has found it since. But the intersection remembers. The shell casings remember. The 13 witnesses who saw it remember, even if they won't say so anymore. And somewhere the white Cadillac still exists. Burned, scrapped, hidden, or driving through the desert with secrets no one wanted solved. Until now.